Okay, this is class 13 of CAD 212 for fall 2021. Today in class, we're going to continue our client discussion, see if anybody has any new questions they want to ask about the design work as they're thinking about how they want to develop that. This will be the last week of schematic design, which means we basically want to have our ideas developed on how we want to design this building, and after this, we'll move into from schematic design to design development, where we kind of really tune in our design skills and things like that and what we're looking at for this building. So we should be kind of sketching out in our mind or on paper how we want this building to look. We'll have one more set of questions where the client can make changes, which will be on Wednesday. So if you have any other questions, then we'll do another quick session then, and then we'll continue to refine our work. Today in class, we're going to talk about editing floors again, because we touched on that really quickly last class. We'll talk about cutting holes and how we can use that in floors or ceilings. We'll talk about manipulating constraints and how we can make our walls and floors above and below lie properly together so you don't have gaps between stuff, and kind of manipulate that a little bit. And then we'll talk about adding sweeps and reveals to the exterior of the house. We're going to incorporate all that new stuff into your continued renovation plan as you continue to work on all this other stuff. Some things that we aren't touching on that we've touched on before are paint finishes, floors. You can change the floors in this. It's really do give you like carte blanche to kind of play with this and make it the design that you want it to look like. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into any client questions. Does anybody have any questions today about how their design's coming along, or what changes they need to make, or anything for the client? Okay, cool. I see no questions. So let's go ahead and jump into our Revit lecture for this morning. And the first thing that we want to talk about, you should have your beginning of your staircase incorporated. We'll talk about adding staircases to multiple floors today as well. So let's go ahead and jump back to just adding those staircases to where we were before, and then editing the floors from there. So from here, I'm going to jump to level 1.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Did the what is it? I don't know how these client questions are like supposed to go, but like, did they want like the hallway to be extended to all the other 2 floors?
I don't follow the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, okay, so designing the other 2 floors, I kind of like added the hallway feature like that we had placed on the first floor to the other 2 floors. I don't know if they wanted like, kind of like a symmetrical feel.
Can anybody else hear?
You could use the same hallway layout if that's what you're meaning, or you could change the hallway layout to something that's you wanted to change it up to.
Okay.
So yeah, you could change it, or you could use the exact same hallway layout that we have here.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so let's take a look at 3D in this one. So we have our 3 floors. And we have our ceiling in place here. I'm going to delete this ceiling and do it again. So here, just to kind of keep playing with it, I'm going to go ahead and add my 3 floors on here, and then add the staircase again to kind of refresh you with that, and then talk about cutting holes and things like that. So let me jump to level 2. I'm gonna add that flooring there. So remember, we're going to go to floor, and we're all going to use this wood joist 10-inch for our interior floors. Check mark. Let me go to fourth floor 3. Remember, when sometimes we have like a weird view like this, we want to go down to our underlay. And we want to have our base underlay to be level 3. And we'll look down, and that did not change anything. Underlay does get a little frustrating at times, I will say.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Is there a way to, like, when you're in 3D, to see your floors, like by each, second level, first level, or do you have to go in and hide everything in order to see each floor?
like this.
Yeah, like, but if you want to see from like the top view and stuff, to see like, that the layout's being correct, like, or do you just have to go in and actually hide everything to see?
You have to go in and hide everything. If you did go and use wireframe, you can see it here, but it gets super confusing because
Yeah.
here's your floor and then the ceilings, but I don't use wireframe that often. So you can use that, but like I said, it does get confusing there. You would have to like still hide stuff to kind of navigate properly, like maybe the hide the door frames.
Hmm.
Oops. No.
Didn't know if there was like a place where you can actually just like see each level.
Well,
That
the
and,
only
like,
way you can do that is like in the plan views,
yeah.
because you're
There's no
working.
there's no itemized list, or like just like AutoCAD where like layers per level.
Not really layers per level. You can, there is a way that you can do like, let me just go back to 3D.
Basically, like trying to select like a structural floor or something, and it highlights the door. So you got to go hide all the doors. Is there a quicker method for that?
To hide the doors?
No, not hide the doors, but like if I'm visually seeing everything with nothing hidden, is there a way to select, a structural floor per se from a list rather than trying to click on the actual drawing of it, because usually you'll end up highlighting something above it.
You can do this. You could highlight all of it. And then notice up here, we have a filter now. We have this filter selection. So here you can just unclick everything you don't want. So if I just wanted my ceilings active or my doors active, I can select it from here. If I just want,
Where was that filter menu at when you
so I just highlighted the entire drawing, and then it's back up here on this in the ribbon.
Okay, cool, I see it.
Okay, cool. I honestly don't use that too often, but it is helpful from time to time. Okay, where was I? All right, let's go back to level 3 and add that. Okay, cool.
Are we editing floors right now?
Not technically. I'm kind of putting these floors in so we can get to the point where we're editing them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so you can see sometimes it gets really frustrating to put things in. Undo. All right, there we go. All right, now we got our 3 floors in. But part of what the lesson of today is in regards to the 3 floors, it's these other walls coming through the floors and things like that. How we don't want to see that all the time. And when you have a set of plans, these are actually the walls from level 1 that we want to just be on level 1. So let's adjust those walls first. Before I add the other stairs and kind of play with that. So with the size of this wall, let me go to a front view. Notice that this wall is running all the way through both floors. So we have our first floor, we have our second floor, and it's even like infiltrating our 3rd floor. But we actually just want this wall to be set to our first floor. So here, if remember the heights of these walls are driven by these connections here on our properties. So if we take a look at the top constraint, it's not constrained to anything, it's unconstrained. So I can change the height of this to whatever I want it to be. If I did change the constraint to up to level 1, actually it would have to be up to level 2. At this point, it's still an issue because it's still coming through this floor here, and it's still going to show in this set of drawings here, which will be a mess. So you don't want it to do like that. What we actually want this wall to do is to lay right underneath the floor as a supporting wall. Remember where these wall connections are. This isn't actually the detail that your contractor is going to get. We do have a set of detailed drawings, but we do want our model to look correct as well. So we want to highlight that wall, and then actually instead of having it constrained to level 2, I do want to have that unconstrained, unconnected, and I want to change the height of it. And if I remember correctly, it should be 9'2". So with your 10-foot ceilings, if you put that at 9'2", it's going to go right there. And it is, yeah, infiltrating a little bit, but it's not coming through where it's going to be a problem. It is laying right in the connection, and it's not, it's like if we change this to 9'1", let's watch what happens. We're going to have a little gap when we change that to 9'2". So we don't have to be 9'1". So we don't have to be exact, but we don't have to have it. It's better not to have a gap. So I'm never going to get it exact. So I'm going to just keep it at 9'2", where there's no gap in that wall. Because when we get to the point where we're doing interior shots, we do walkthroughs, you'll definitely notice gaps when you go from there. So we want to adjust all these walls like that, like all these other walls. One, and then we'll click on the other one. So we've got both of those, and we can change those at the same time. We'll set those to 9'2".
So for my 12-foot ceilings, would that be 11'2"?
Yeah, it should be, if you're using, well, you should be using this 10 inch
Yeah.
flooring, it should be.
Okay, cool.
So the next thing we want to do is kind of, let me just throw in some ceilings back on this first floor. So I'm going to go ceiling plan level 1. I'm going to go to my ceiling tool. And it defaults to 2x4 acoustical ceiling tile, but we want to actually change that. We'll start with a generic. We'll go into edit type. We'll duplicate and we'll make this our ceiling. Initials. Okay. We'll jump into our material here. And you can pick whatever material you want. If you want to do something fancy like wood ceilings, let's do that. Use render appearance. Okay. And they're still going to drop in at that default. So remember, we want to pick by room. A lot of the stuff that I've been seeing has like had a ceiling run across the entire thing. So it's infiltrated the floors and the walls and things like that. We definitely want to pick by room when we drop our ceilings in. So I have something that looks like that. Now let me jump to 3D. And if we come in right here, we take a look at that. That's our ceiling, and it's set at 8 foot, and it's got this gap in between. Now, sometimes you'll want that, especially in a commercial building. We're not actually doing that in this commercial building. This space between that drop ceiling is called the plenum. So this would be a drop ceiling, typically what you would see in a commercial building, especially think about a Delgado, how we've got the acoustical ceiling tiles here. And then there's usually that space where lots of, where the air conditioning systems are run, the electrical systems, et cetera, that are run in this plenum right here. We cover that a lot in MEP class. So we do use that option in that class. In this class, we want to be able to know that we can have a drop ceiling, but we also want to have it put right flush with this ceiling so it kind of looks, so we have a better look. That'll work better for this type of work and also for residential. So with this ceiling activated, I'm going to change the height of this. Let me see what happens if I select the same height at 9'2", space 2. Well, where did that go? So since it's actually on the same height, (9 foot 1.5 inches). Ah. 9'1". There we go. I have to have that set at 9'1". And part of the reason of that is because that ceiling is so thin that I selected. You'll notice that if you do use the acoustical ceiling tile, that one is a lot thicker. I think that it's actually 3 inches thick, and it does show at a different height. So it's just a matter of kind of playing with all that to make sure that you get that to the height that you want. If I wanted to do all the ceilings at the same time, remember I can select one ceiling, make it active, right click, select all instances, and do visible in view, and then set all that height at the same time. And then they all move at the same time. Now, sometimes that'll get a little frustrating. Let me take a front view of this. Do we say 9'2"? All right, so there's my ceiling there. Oops. ceiling, right click, select all instances. Let's say 9'1". There, it's still a slight gap there, but once you zoom out, it's not going to be noticeable at all. And then we have our ceilings in place there. So you'll do the same with the first, with the second floor and the third floor once you have these walls in place. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw my, continue to draw my stairwell. All right, we do want to have the same size stairwell in all of them, so I'm going to use that underlay here to continue to draw. These walls just because I want them in the same place. Can't keep elements joined. Let's see what that means. Let's go to 3D. I probably deleted it. I've still got these floors that, all right, I didn't catch that. That's that's part of the problem. I need to select these 3 floors and set them to the right height. The walls, 3 walls. Set those to 9'2". There we go. Now let's go back to level 1. And I can continue to draw those walls. Oh, that's on level 1 now. All right, I think I should finally have that little wall in place. All right. This set to 9'2" as well. So depending on your walls, it may be easier to like lay them all out and then set them all at the same time. And then we'll finish that one wall over there. Oh, come on. All right. Once again, I did not select all my walls and select them, put them in 9'2", and that's why it's giving me this arrow. 9'2". All right, that one's set to 9'2". Now I have this one in place. It's very frustrating. So let me go ahead and just lay out the two sets of stairs, and then it'll be the same for the third set of stairs there, and then we can go ahead and re-edit those spaces. So remember, when we're going to use stairs, we want to go to our architecture tab, our circulation panel, and our stair tool. I'm going to have to change that to left run because I want it to attach here. I'm going to bring that up to halfway, jump over here to the other side, and finish my stair run here. Let's jump to 3D. Well, let me green check mark. 3D. Side view. So I do want this flush with the back, so I'm gonna select the staircase. And I'm just gonna move that with my directional arrow. So it's flush with the back. And let's do that again on the second floor. So we can see where it starts here. I'm gonna do the same thing here, go to my staircase. So we've got our two staircases in place, which are starting to look pretty nice. But we still have the same problem about the floors and now the ceilings. So let's go back to level 1 and edit that. Let's go to ceiling level 1. Actually, let's do the floor first. So floor on level 2. So remember, we'll select the floor. We'll do edit boundary. And we can change the shape of this so we can have that come through. All right, come on. We want to draw in what the rest of that space is going to look like. A check mark in 3D. So starting to look better. So here we don't have to worry about putting a railing at this point because you're going to go from obviously from stair 1 up to stair 2, but we still have the same issue that we have with this ceiling as we have with the floor. So we're going to do the same thing with the ceiling. We'll go ahead and jump to ceiling level 2. That'll be ceiling level 1. Grab that ceiling, do the same thing with the edit boundary. And we'll just pull it this way and hit our green check mark and go to 3D. So now we're starting to look a little bit better. So notice there's a bunch of different ways that we can manipulate the way these floors look and things like that. Another way we can do it, even if you don't have, say if you are going to have a central opening in your floors, you can do that as well. So by doing that, we can go ahead and select the floor and hit edit boundary. And then if you want to draw the shape of what you want out of it, and then you can hit your check mark there. So now you will have two pieces. Now you'll have, whoops, two separate floors. One that's edited like this, and one where you edited the shape where you have a floor cut out like this as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can manipulate it and change it. You just want to make sure that everything gets lined up properly. If you decide you don't like that, you can, undo it and have that go away. But it's good to know that even if you can change the whole like that as well. So any questions about manipulating floors and walls? It's all about getting them set up correctly to the right height with your properties. It's all about just making sure everything's driven according to their offsets and the constraints. And sometimes it does get a little frustrating because things are constrained to something else, and then you have to go back and unconstrain it and stuff. But it's really about just making sure that things are laying properly together. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? It's really the same concept as when we put in our finished floors and having that offset for 1/2 inch. But we want to make sure all of our connections kind of look like this, so they're real nice. So it takes a little while to get through all that, so continue to work on that. And the last thing we're going to cover in class today is sweeps and reveals. And this is easy and it's kind of fun. And it gives you, it's a way to give the exterior of your building some design elements. So let me jump here. And all we need to do there is we can go ahead and highlight the current wall that we're using. And we're just going to go in and edit that wall. So if I jump the preview here, have this preview open. You'll see what happens as we start adding these sweeps and reveals. We'll go into edit. And down here in this bottom part, we can enter the sweeps or reveals. So we'll do sweeps first. Sweeps is kind of like adding a border around the sections of the building. And then reveals is kind of like having a cutout on sections of the building. So let's just do them one at a time. They're very similar how you do them, just very different effects. So do sweeps first. If I want to add a sweep, any kind of profile that goes around the building, I'm going to go ahead and add that. You can, as you get more advanced, you can build your own profile, how you want that to look. Here, we're just going to use the defaults that we have in place. And we have these different ones here. It's also nice, like at the top, to add this because you can add a parapet to the top of your building if you have don't have a building with a regular roof on it. Let's go ahead and just add a single brick. You can change the material to anything you want. Let's do something bright so it shows. And it's going to be set from the base. So let's say if this is 3 feet from the base, and let's hit apply. So it's basically adding this piece to the exterior of the building at 3 foot. If you wanted to add another one at the same time, you could do that. Also, this is sticking out like really far, the thickness of the brick. If you don't want it to stick out that far, you can change that. Let's make this -1 inch and apply that. And notice how it's kind of recessed a little further now. If I wanted to add another one, say add. This one here. Nothing interesting. So I'd want to definitely make something first, make material before I go in there. I could do it now, but it's just as easy to make it before. Let's just pick carpet, just because we can see it. It's like, okay. So this one's set at 3 foot. Say I want this at 9 foot. And I just want that recessed to -2 inches. And let's hit apply. So that's where that one would be. I hit OK and OK. OK all the way out. You'll see it's added these wraps around the building just to give it some interest. Now, if we zoom in here, obviously this one is not set at a good height because it's covering up parts of the window. So I'd have to go back and correct the height on that. But it's just a way to add some interest to your building. You can make different brick colors. You can make it any material you want. But it's a really interesting way to add some design elements added to the building. Now, when we do our reveals, it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to be taking away a section of it, with kind of like an indent into that wall this time. So let's do that. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into edit type, edit, And now we'll add the reveal. We're gonna add that. And pick one of these. And let's put this at 12 feet. And hit apply. And we'll come over here. Notice this is the size of it, but it's only sitting in this much. Only this much is going to be, you know, revealed, so to speak. If you wanted to have that deeper, you could do the same thing by doing the offset. Do it like -1 inch. Oh, that was a positive 2 inches. And notice how it's set in a lot deeper. I wouldn't do 2 inches. Let's just see what it looks like. And then we have something that looks like that. So I do want you to incorporate, yeah, that's too deep. I definitely should make that less shallow, more shallow. So I do want you to incorporate a couple of sweeps and reveals into your exterior walls and see how they're going to work. If you only wanted to do it on one wall, say your front wall of your building, you would have to create a new wall type. You could duplicate the wall type that you're using and just add the sweep or reveal to the one wall in order to use it in just one section of your building. Because as you notice that if you're using it on the type of wall that you have for all the walls, it's going to add it to all the walls at once. So if you just wanted it on one wall, you would have to create the new wall and then have that wall set up correctly and just use that one and that wall in that one part. That's all the new stuff for today. We're going on Wednesday. We're going to have some more new stuff to do. And it's kind of a big lecture on Wednesday, so make sure you make it on Wednesday. But for here, we're just using this time to get everything caught up, keeping you working on your design development, you know, your ideas of how you want your building to look and things to be changed up. So on Wednesday, when we come in, we'll have a big lecture that day, but we'll also have another question and answer session for the client. So if you have any other questions at that time, you can do that then. Is there any questions now? Okay. Yeah.
I have, so I'm having trouble with the putting in the rails on the stairs.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. Like I put it in and then I don't know where it goes. It's not on the first floor or anything. And then I don't know. I'm having a lot of trouble with that for some reason.
So you're having trouble with this?
Like putting the railings between the stairs, like on the floors, like from the wall, you know, from the railing to the wall, or, you know, the gaps in between the second and third floor.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at that. Let me, actually, this building is still set to a 2-story building. Let's make this a 3-story building by highlighting this roof. We'll change the roof constraint to level 4. All right, so one interesting thing, right, when I did that, obviously, is that the walls did not move at the same time. These walls are not connected to this roof. So we always want to make sure that these exterior walls are connected to the roof. So I'm going to highlight this wall and do attach top to base. And now those are attached. I mean, I could set this to, 30 feet or whatever, but I'll know it's not attached the correct way because of the angle of this wall. If it's angled like this, I know it's attached to the roof. If it's a flat wall like this, I know it's just adjusted by the height. So I could set that to 30 feet to show you the difference. So this one is set to 20 feet. If I set that to 30 feet, I mean, it looks like it works. It basically does, but how we want to do our connections is attach top to base and not just the height of the wall. Sometimes we'll want to do this depending on the difficulty of our walls and how we construct our walls, but for our basics right now, and to have everything kind of move integrally, we'll definitely do attach top to base. So that's not what your question was, but that's, let's go back and answer your question now. So I'm just gonna edit the boundary on this. So what you're talking about is this space right here.
Yes. Like there, and then on the second floor too, from the stair to stair to have a railing. But yeah, I'm sure if you just show me one way, I can figure it out.
So here I'm on, actually, let me go to level 3. Here I'm on level 3. And I'm just going to use the railing tool right here. So I'm going to click on the railing tool, make it active. Here it's set to level 3. So if I click here and just draw it across to there and hit my green check mark and go to 3D, it should be in place. So there it is right there. We also have a little gap right here on the second floor. So if we go to level 2, we want to close that off. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to architecture tab. Now let's pick our railing tool, and we're just going to draw that from there to there and hit their green check mark. And let's take a look at it that in 3D, and that's right there as well.
Okay.
So what may be happening, and it does get a bit confusing, is like if we're drawing it in 3D, if we go click a railing, and we're trying to draw this railing on our 3rd floor. So I'm just going to draw this railing on my 3rd floor right here. And I do that, and I take a look at it on my 3rd floor, and I'm like, well, where did it go? Well, what I didn't notice when I drew that originally is this railing was set to level 1. Even in 3D, it defaults to level 1, so I'd have to change that to level 3, and that should put that back in place. So sometimes if you're drawing stuff in 3D, it's not going to show up where you want it to, because it's going to be set on a different level. Just what happened with that railing right there. So you can always draw it in the correct level it's supposed to be. That way you know it won't move on you. Or if you draw it in level 3, just when you go in and draw it, just make sure that you selected the right level that you want to at the same time. Because I'm going to draw it on level 3 here. And notice right here, it's defaulting to level 1. So here, if I want it on level 3, I'm going to have to change it to level 3. And then it stays on level 3. So try that. If that doesn't work, we can revisit that on Wednesday.
Okay, I will try that out. Thank you. I appreciate
Cool.
it.
No worries. Any other questions, y'all? Okay, if no questions, it's a short lecture for today. We'll see y'all on Wednesday. We'll have a question and answer session, and we'll have some, I think, fun stuff to go over, but it's a lot. It's a big lesson, so make sure you don't miss Wednesday. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.